And thank you very much for staying with us here on your election headquarters. We are going to be breaking down for you the national picture when it comes to the parliamentary very, very shortly. There are a few outstanding. This is our own tabulation, right? There are a few outstanding that we'll put in there just to give you a picture of where we are. But it's on the ninth earth from what I've seen. This is very, very close. It's going to come down to 2 or 3 seats, maximum possibly this year. But there are a host of things happening across the country right now. And I want to show you all on our screens right now. There is the Electoral Commission, and we've sent our drones into the skies to give you a picture of what is happening at the Electoral Commission. I want you to show the drone pictures and give you a sense of the aerial view there shortly. What you see there also beneath, if you're watching us on television, is the anticipation at the conference center. The stage is set now, waiting the Electoral Commission chairperson to approach, and we expect this to be the declaration of the results. Also, is what you see also on your right top corner of your screen. It's the live from Tamale, where NDC have been on the protest today, protesting, of course, what we've seen. There are issues with the results that had coming so far. So there's a lot happening. We'll be going to the camp of the John Mahama shortly, where we have an embed there. We have an embed also with the in the house of the incumbent president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, shortly. All that for you here on your election headquarters as we build up to the official declaration by the Electoral Commission. If you're just joining us, we here at JoyNews, Joy 99.7 FM, have already projected that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo will win the 2020 presidential race this year. And that is our projection if you're just joining us. Winston, one of the things we want to do now is to do the breakdown.
Exactly. So, Evans, from our own coalition, from our own sources at the Electoral Commission, based on what has been certified and what we have gathered, so far, what we have is from 265 constituents.
Okay, I want to increase this so you can see me. Yeah. This is important. This is where the fight has been. Okay, so this is NDC,
and
I'm going to split this.
And an NPP.
Okay. This is NPP. Okay. Let's do the breakdown, Winston.
So far,
Parliamentary.
The NDC has 132 seats.
132 seats.
The NPP, 132 seats.
132 seats.
And one independent.
We have an independent candidate who is also playing in this particular area. Where do I put it? Let me put it somewhere. Let me just indicate this and say Indy.
Yeah, Indy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's one.
Don't worry, it's going to come up very soon as we do this. Who has won?
Yeah.
Who has won? Okay. Who has won?
One.
Okay.
And we have 10 outstanding.
Outstanding? It's 10.
Exactly. So currently, this is what we have. If you add these numbers, 132 plus 132, 264, plus 1, 265, plus 10, 275. These are the number of constituencies we have, and we're waiting for the remaining 10 to be able to tell you who would have the majority in Parliament.
So this is our tabulation. Some of these are contested, including Savelugu. Our sources say the NPP is contesting this in Savelugu very keenly, but we understand that the NPP candidate is going to be agreeing to sign the document because that is holding up the process and conceding, in essence, to the NDC. The NDC tally will go up when that happens, but I understand that post that, the NPP intends to mount a challenge of that particular result in court to get a recount of the ballots there, but they want to let us go for now, so they can fight this in court. Now, the thing about this is there's a lot here that may decide who has a majority in parliament. And we've said this year, a lot of things that we know are beginning to shatter. Traditionally strong swing purist regions, Greater Accra, always voting for the presidential candidate and putting him in the Jubilee House, hasn't done that this year. Yeah. Again, why not? Why don't we also then anticipate that something may be happening in Parliament that may be never seen before since 1992, right? This is all.
Well, there's a possibility. I mean, based on the 10 outstanding, what it means is that none of the political parties, 132, if we're to add the Savaligu to the NDC, 133, you still need 138 seats to have a majority in Parliament. And you've heard from Andrew Esiama say that he's going to win as an independent candidate and willing to work with the NPP. You might as well take his seat.
So what we are saying is that this one is an NPP one.
Oh, it's an NPP leaning one.
It's an NPP leaning one.
NPP one, but NPP leaning. For the purpose of analysis, I just would want to say, if you give one to the NDC, let's just put this out and stay away from it. The NDC still would need an additional 5 to have a majority in Parliament, because you need 138 seats in Parliament in order to say, I have the majority. If the NDC gets the 5, they would have the majority. What that would mean is that for the first time in the country's democratic dispensation, you would have a president, based on our projection, who would have a minority in Parliament. And that means a lot, because...
What a delicious prospect.
And that means a lot, because you would have members of Parliament electing the Speaker of Parliament. And this would mean that the majority who belong to a different party would elect a Speaker who belongs to their side. They also would have, watch this, they also would have, First Deputy Speaker maybe. And if there's an independent candidate here who agrees to work with a majority, he can actually be made second Deputy Speaker, because our law says the 2 Deputy Speakers shall not come from the same political party.
As we saw in the case of the current NPP National Chairman, Freddie Blay, who was for a long time
First Deputy Speaker. And so eventually he became First Deputy Speaker, and Malik Al-Hassan Yakubu from the NPP. Now, mind you, at the time, Mr. Freddie Blay associated himself with the NPP in Parliament.
Yes.
But you had, he being First Deputy Speaker, and then Malik Al-Hassan Yakubu being made Second Deputy Speaker. So these are interesting prospects ahead of us, should the NDC win the majority in Parliament. If the NPP wins, then that would be back to the status quo, what we have known happening in our democratic dispensation since the time of the Fourth Republic. And so anytime a particular party wins a presidential election, it wins the parliamentary elections, and then they continue the governance process. They have a speaker and a first deputy speaker. They have a majority in Parliament, so they're the majority on all the committees. And so that's the current situation, Evans.
Okay, great. And now, Winston, what I want to do for our audiences now is to break this down. So where are we? Which parts of the country is this coming from? Because that then gives you a picture of this here that I want to show you very quickly on the slides here. I want to take this off and bring it in. Winston, call me the up. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Good. This is a story that we've seen there. So this is the main story there that we've seen. Okay, great. I'm going to take this off, and then let's break this down for our audiences to watch. We say 132 for the NPP, 132 for the NPP, for the NDC, and there's an outstanding of 10, one independent candidate. Where are these coming from? Let's start the breakdown here. Where are these coming from? Let's start the region, right? So this is region.
Yeah.
I want to reduce this so we could fill the space a bit more. So this is region. So we have in Ashanti region. Let's start with Ahafo, Winston. So Ahafo, NDC, NPP, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in Ahafo.
No outstanding constituency in the Ahafo region.
So let's break it down.
Yeah, let's break it down. NPP has 4.
NPP has 4.
NDC has 2.
2. So this is Ahafo.
Yeah.
Let's come to Ashanti.
Ashanti.
Okay.
The NDC has 4 in the Ashanti region. That's the NDC.
NDC has 4.
And the NPP 40 with 2 outstanding.
With 2 outstanding.
And 1 independent. So you can do the Indi there, and then you have the independent over there.
Okay, so this this here is 4.
Yes.
So we get it right. So this is 4 here. Okay, and you say they are standing here as well.
In the Ashanti, I mean, the outstanding in the Ashanti region is 2.
It's 2.
Yeah.
So we have 2 outstanding.
But 1 for the independent candidate of Fomena.
And 1 here for Indi, right?
Yeah.
So this is important here to watch. He got 1 in there.
Exactly.
Now let's go to Bono.
Bono is evenly spread, 6-6.
Okay, 6. We told you that earlier.
Yeah.
6. Okay, let's go.
And then we get Bono, B-O-N-O.
Yeah.
Okay, so we take, yeah, that's it. Then we get to Bono East.
Okay, B East.
Yeah.
B-E.
NPP 3.
NPP 3.
NDC 7.
7.
With 1 outstanding.
1 outstanding. Okay.
Central region.
Central. Okay, tell me.
NPP 10.
NPP 10.
NDC 12.
NDC 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
With 1 outstanding.
1 outstanding.
Then we get to the Eastern region.
Eastern. I'm going to run out of screen space here.
Yeah.
Eastern region.
NPP has 25.
NPP 25. NPP 25.
Yeah.
We expected that to happen.
Yeah. NDC 8.
NDC 8. Okay. There's no outstanding.
Yes, no seat outstanding. We head straight to the Greater Accra region.
GR.
Yes.
Okay.
The NPP has 13.
NDC.
NPP 13.
NPP has 13 seats.
Yeah. And the NDC 19.
19 seats in the Greater Accra.
Yeah, with 2 outstanding.
With 2 outstanding. Okay, great. Let's go.
Let's get to the Northeast.
Northeast. Okay.
The NPP has 4.
NPP has 4.
NDC has 2.
2.
Then to the Northern region.
Northern region. Northern region.
NPP has 7.
NPP has 7.
Yeah. NDC 8.
8 for NDC.
With 3 outstanding.
3 outstanding. Okay.
So let's do the 10th region. Maybe we could just add it up.
We can add up. Yeah. 10th region, which one is it?
That's the OT region.
OT. Okay.
NPP has 0.
NPP has 0. Expected.
NDC has 8.
8.
So now let's do the calculation.
Okay, so this is 10.
Yes.
This is 10 regions.
Let's do it this way. 6, 12, 19, 31, 39,
Okay.
41, 49,
Okay.
57 plus 19 would give you 57 plus 19 would give you 76.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that. I mean, once you do the tabulation to 16, we get 132.
132.
I mean, we'll come back to the rest. But this is a breakdown for you, especially for those who are listening to us and you're wondering. So, in the regions, what were the parties' performance in the parliament? This is a breakdown for you. We'll come back and tell you the rest of the 6. Okay, so you know where we stand. This is critical because there's a lot of tension around the parliamentary, and we're saying there's some outstanding that we don't have. But at least we want to give you a certain picture as we also proceed to get you the clarity on the final eventual outcome. But I want to take you to a press conference in the Tamale. This is the northern region. The MPP's candidate in Tamale Central, Dr. Ibrahim Anyas, is expected to address the press conference there. We understand that he is expected to concede defeat contested against NDC's Murtala Mohammed. I want to take you live now, and you can see in your shot Mr. Anyas. Mr. Anyas is the CEO of the coordinator of NAPCO. I want to go take you there live now and listen to what he has to say. Okay, great. We're waiting for him to start. We see him in a shot about to speak. And if this is true that he's about to concede to Murtala Mohammed, Of course, in an election, this is what you encourage. I'll pull his constituency and see what happens there.
That's the Tamale Central constituency.
Don't worry, what you see on your screens won't disappear. We'll come back to it and finish it for you. For those of you interested in the regional performance, I'll come back to it and pull it for you. But as we wait for, I think he started now, Mr. Anyas, I'll show you his performance in his constituency very shortly, once he's probably ended, and then we can put that in context. We say maybe let's do that as we wait for him.
Exactly. Let's get to the northern region. Okay, so northern region. And, okay, no, this is Savannah. Let's get to northern region.
Winston, just for those, let me fill in those who are listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM. You can see our drone shots now in play right now over the area there at the, I believe this is the Electoral Commission area, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Our drone shots in play. But I want to take you now to Tamale and get Mr. Anyas's press briefing.
The parliamentary and presidential elections at the Tamale Central constituency. And I thought that it was befitting that we extend our greetings and gratitude to the entire constituency, all the constituents, for their immense show of support for the new patriotic party. And as a candidate, I think that it has to go on record that the Tamale Central constituency, having run the elections here the second time, has indicated that as one of the constituencies in the country that has had a certain reputation, that we can equally turn a leaf. And so we had a very peaceful election. And I think that all our constituents deserve some kind of commendation for that. As a candidate too, I am fully aware that the other stakeholders, the Electoral Commission, the security services, have all done us a good job and honored us by making sure that we went through an election process that came to a very good end. Now, sadly, the New Patriotic Party, and as a candidate representing the party, we did not win. But somehow, in terms of the effort put into the campaign, we believe that the party has gained a lot of fortune within the Tamale Central constituency in terms of the appreciation in our vote share within the constituency for both the presidential and then the parliamentary elections. And for me as a candidate, having followed the journey of the party from 2016 to the 2020 elections, I think that that is something that is worth appreciating, that it doesn't come easy, that you manage to have that level of appreciation in terms of a vote share for a constituency that is largely seen to be a terrain for the NDC. Yesterday, at the end of the collation, I extended my congratulations to the candidate for the NDC, Honorable Murtala Ibrahim Mohammed, and I wish him well as he runs as a member of parliament for this constituency. Of course, we had a different vision, one that was had a focus in development to make sure that we serve our people well. And as a worthy son of the constituency, it was always my wish that the NPP would be given an opportunity to serve the people of Tamale so well as the president had done in his first term in terms of the age-old conflictual issues that we had with the chieftaincy. And the fact that for a very long time in our history, one president brought us our dignity and a certain relief. And so it was my wish that I will become the very first NPP member of parliament to bring more of the good things that our party represents and then President Akufo-Addo represents. But sadly, it wasn't to be. But we hold our heads so high that we fought a very good election. The effort that went into the elections from the rank and file of the party, the New Patriotic Party, from the constituency level all across to the polling station level, and then also if you look at the effort from the grassroots, the volunteers, I am sure that on the national stage, lots of people would have watched the Tamale Central constituency with admiration, and that is something worthy of mention. At the end of it all, politics is about the sort of choices that we all make. I believe sincerely the New Patriotic Party offered the people of Tamale Central a choice. But elections have consequences. I ran with a development agenda. And with that development agenda, it was my wish that that will be rolled out upon a win. But of course, as a son of the constituency, I have no other place than to still stay within my constituency and extend the best of what I can to the people of Tamale Central constituency. His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, I believe that within our second term, a lot more good things than what we have experienced in the first term are going to happen. We said 4 more for Nana to do more for you, and it's exactly our wish that that is the case. I am sure that a lot of people have followed my politics, and it's been one centered around human development and improving the sort of profile of our people. So you'd see that at every stage of our politics, we have tried as much as possible to move our people away from any sense of conflict or issues that are quite reductive in terms of the sort of negativities that we had been earlier profiled for. At this stage in the process, all I say to the rank and file of the NPP is that we fought a good fight. I have family members who have sacrificed a lot. And I think that as a son, I have to extend my sincerest appreciation to them. For the National Party and the Regional Party, I mean, they have to be credited for a lot of the movement that we have had in terms of the momentum that our campaign gained, and also the eventual conversion into votes in terms of what we were able to produce. But elections, like I said, have consequences. And what saddens every member of our party is the fact that we have lost an opportunity to be able to, actualize the very vision that we have. We wish that there was a compelling alternative, which was quite visible for the constituents to be able to make a judgment on. But hopefully, in time, it will become apparent what happened on 7th of December. It's early days yet, but all we can say is that the elections have come to a good close. My appreciation in terms of the family effort, in terms of all the contributions, financial, time, and resources and everything, has got to be put on record that for the very first time, we fought in a very competitive way within Tamale Central constituency. But the outcome, of course, was not what every single one of us expected to be the outcome. And so this was the very brief statement to assure the rank and file that we appreciate the effort everyone has put into this. I have counted myself as being 2 times lucky. The party has always followed me on this adventure. We've done that in 2016. We came back to fight again. But I believe sincerely the Tamale Central constituency someday, very soon, is going to fall for the New Patriotic Party. I have no doubt in my mind. And that is going to be on account of the sort of record in terms of our developmental effort that we have shared. For all our well-wishers across the country who wish to have seen us occupy the Tamale Central seat in Parliament, I don't think we can be downhearted about this. I believe sincerely that we put in an effort and tried as much as we could to be able to offer this sort of alternative that we felt Tamale Central required. But the mandate and sovereignty lies with the people. I mean, and at the end of the day, the choice of the people have to be respected, which is why we're very magnanimous in the first instance to extend our appreciation to them and also to thank the NDC candidate for his win and wish him well as he stands in as the Member of Parliament-elect for the Tamale Central constituency. So thank you very much to everyone for the diverse contributions that have been made. I believe that our efforts will be rewarded in varied ways. And of course, it's a very positive position to be in, that the NPP gets to lead the country in its second term, to do more of the good things that every Ghanaian so desires. And as a part of the administration, we cannot say that we're not glad. I mean, it's a very happy day for us, regardless of what the outcome of our parliamentary issues were. And so I thank everyone for making a contribution in this process. Thank you very much.
Drone shots now of the Electoral Commission there. We are live in the air for you. We are live on the ground. And if this was happening on the sea, I'm definitely sure we'll be there for you also. The EC headquarters in shot from above. This gives you a better appreciation, Winston, of what is happening. If you're listening to us on Joy 99.7, I will encourage you, listen, but check us out also live on Joy 99.7 FM. What the visuals, because that will give you a compliment what you're hearing. Go onto our Facebook and follow us also and watch it. Go to Twitter, #ElectionHQ. Well, the drones seem to have landed now on the ground. They're going to go up in the sky again very shortly, and then we can get a better picture of what is happening there at the Electoral Commission. But Parker Wilson is the boot on the ground representing us at the Electoral Commission today, and he will join us shortly because there appears to be some development that we need to update our audiences on.
Exactly. We hear that the security agents have formed a wall. We don't know what they are going to be doing next, but it's important we go to Kwesi Parker Wilson to tell us what's about to happen at the Electoral Commission, where some supporters of the NPP, NDC, currently are.
Okay, so these are live visuals. Parker, do we have Parker on the line? We don't have Parker yet. But what you see on your screens is what Winston just described. The police and the military are on standby. We'll give you the aerial shots again very shortly. NPP General Secretary John Boydu is to address the media very shortly. Again, we are there for you. We are not missing anything. If it happens, it will be here on your election headquarters. We're expecting the NPP General Secretary, John Boydu, to start addressing a press conference very, very soon. Our cameras are there for you very shortly. You want to stay with us for that. And we're keeping an eye on the Electoral Commission unfolding events there. We just came back from Tamale, and I need to comment on Tamale because it is what you encourage in a heated contest like this. And this was, Anyasi's constituency was a heated one. Tamale Central.
Yeah.
Coming up against Murtala Mohammed. Right? Yeah. And yet, we want to go back now. Sorry, I'll come back to this story. John Boydu, General Secretary of the NPP, is addressing the press. Let's listen in.
137 for you, 137 for them with 4 men outstanding.
But I've told you we are in the majority. You understand? So when I addressed the press yesterday, I told you we already have 137. We have about 4 or 5 constituencies under dispute that we are very sure that majority of them will come to the new patriotic party. So we don't have any problem with it. You see, the NDC thought that they could play the mind game by officially announcing that they have 144. At the end of the day, we are all seeing where the truth lies. As for the presidency, right from day one, we've said it, because we have an elaborate system. We are not only competent in government, we are competent in our party. As we speak now, we have a setup in our party office that has done exactly what our campaign setup has done. And it is the same. The new patriotic party candidate is getting over 151%. But we will still patiently wait for the Electoral
You're actually
Commission to announce.
It's a legal matter, so the Deputy Attorney General is going to speak to us here on Metro TV.
So Mr. Bodu, so exactly how much is the figure going into this?
Let me have
just as I've said, very soon the Electoral Commission will announce it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So that was Mr. John Bodu. Mr.
I'm saying that just as we finish signing,
I have the Deputy Attorney General, Mr. Godfrey. I mean, you know, we're talking about CI-137. What is the position of the law in such circumstances? And I see that the other media is speaking. So, all media seeing me. Hello.
Take him off. So Evans, that was the General Secretary of the MPP explaining the decision the party has taken as far as the Savelugu parliamentary election is concerned. Now, this decision, according to John Bodu, was arrived at after consulting with the presidential candidate of the MPP, who is also President of the Republic, Nana Akufo-Addo. The decision is that the MPP parliamentary candidate has been instructed by the President to go ahead and sign the collation sheet in that particular constituency, sign and accept the results. But they will be doing so under protest, which means that after everything is done and dusted, they will file a formal complaint with the Electoral Commission for recollation of the Savelugu parliamentary election. Now, the background to this is that this, we are told, is what is holding on the Electoral Commissioner, Chairperson, Madam Jane Mensah, to declare the outcome of the presidential and parliamentary elections held on Monday. Now, with this particular issue out of the way, the EC can now go ahead and declare the results. That's the information we have. The NPP parliamentary candidate has signed the Savelugu parliamentary election under protest, which means that he will file a formal complaint with the EC for recollation of the results. The NDC task under the circumstances now wins the Savelugu parliamentary elections. But we are told that there will be a formal protest after the formal declaration. According to John Bodu, that aside, they still hold majority as far as the parliamentary election is concerned, and they are hoping to form the majority in parliament. They are looking at somewhere around 138. According to him, with Savelugu out of their hands and now in the hands of the NDC, they are still holding on to 137. They still have some 4 seats that they've protested, and they are waiting for the outcome. Their expectation is that they would get all the 4 seats on their side, giving them clear majority in parliament. But for now, as far as the Savelugu parliamentary election is concerned, the instruction from President Akufo-Addo to the parliamentary candidate for the MP is that he should go ahead and sign, which he has signed, in protest, giving indication that they will protest this after the formal declaration. My information is that with this out of the way, the chairperson of the EC can now go ahead and declare the outcome of the presidential and parliamentary elections held on Monday. Evans.
Stay with me, because there's a lot happening in your background that we need to appreciate as this has come in, the instruction had come in. As you can see, there's a lot of activity, and this is the private residence of the incumbent president, Nana Akufo-Addo. Elton, we are showing the picture here. Savelugu, this is where the contest was. Elton, stay with me, don't go anywhere. I just want to show our audiences who are joining us wondering pictorially where is Savelugu and what is happening there. This is where the challenge had been in there. This huge yellow area. I don't want this to disappear, so I just wanted to focus on the yellow here because we'll come back to the numbers. But this is where the area, this is where the contest has been, and Elton has explained the president's instruction is to say concede.
Exactly.
Let's fight it later.
And so once that happens, it means you can now say the NDC has 133 seats in parliament.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this, Winston, because that is exactly what we've been doing, analyzing this particular picture. Can we end this?
Yes,
because that will give you the total.
Exactly.
We have said earlier the number is 132, right? Let's finish this. We are 10.
We're 10
regions.
So it means we have to get off because we don't have enough.
No, I have space down here.
Okay, you have space.
I'll manage.
You manage 6. Anyway, then let's continue then to the Savannah region.
Savannah?
Yes, just make it SR.
Okay.
SR, so the NPP has 3.
3? NPP has 3.
3, yes. And the NDC has 4.
4?
Yeah. And then we get to the Upper East, UE.
Okay. UE.
And the NDC-114.
Okay.
To the NPP's 1.
Okay.
UW, Upper West.
UW.
The NPP has 3.
3.
No, that's this is that's that. So the NPP. Yep.
3, right?
Yeah, 3. And then NDC has 8.
8.
Then you get to the Volta region.
Okay, I need to move this. I need to move this away. Okay.
So we go to the Volta region.
Volta region. Give me a second, Winston. Let me take this off. Okay. Let's go.
Volta region.
VR.
The NPP has 1.
NPP has 1.
And the NDC has 17.
17. How many more regions to go?
2 more regions to go, Western and Western North.
Okay, can we take that for me there in your sector?
I told you. So Western, that's WR, and the NDC, NPP. Not enough space. Just pardon.
You have enough space. I think
it's okay.
It's okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
Good.
So the NDC has 7
for Western?
For the Western region, and the NPP has 9.
Okay.
With 1 outstanding.
Okay.
1 outstanding. Then if you get to the Western North, so what is Western North? The NDC has 6.
Okay.
The NPP has 3.
Okay, let's indicate they are standing in the box.
Yes.
Just there, you can put it
one,
there.
Yes, 1 is outstanding.
Okay.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. So where they okay, I want to take you to the president's house right now. Let's get the very live update there. We'll come back to this. Let's watch this.
Chaos. That should not be done. It should not be done.
Yo, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's so specific. Boss, are you giving up on the Savalogu seat?
No, we're not giving up. I'm saying that we'll file a parliamentary election protest, a parliamentary election petition will be filed by the NPP, and we'll do so within 21 days, as is prescribed by the Representation of People's Law.
And is that what we've demanded, a recollation of the results?
Yes, we will ask for a nullification of the votes in the 2 polling stations affected, the 2 polling stations where there was clear overvoting. Yes, the 2 polling stations, there's only 2 polling stations that there was an instance of overvoting. And those 2 polling stations, when the results are taken out clearly, we show that the NPP won the Savalogu seat. Indeed, even if only 1 polling station out of the 2 is annulled, we will emerge the winner of the parliamentary contest at the Savalogu polling station.
Are you not putting the party at risk, knowing very well that the margin is so slim in terms of the parliamentary elections? With this decision, are you not putting the party at risk, not knowing the outcome that this may come, and the fact that the margin is so slim in parliament?
We know the outcome. Every polling station election is recorded. Declaration of election result. That's what we call the pink sheet. So every polling station has pink sheets, and in respect of all the pink sheets from the other polling stations, we won clearly. It's only those 2 disputed polling stations where there was overvoting, clear overvoting, and all that will seek to change the outcome. And we're saying that indeed, to the extent that there was overvoting, the election was irregularly conducted in those polling stations, and the results must be annulled. And when the results are annulled, NPP will be the winner of the parliamentary contest at Savalogu.
Thank you very much.
Well, the law requires us to do that within 21 days. So we'll do that within 21 days.
Whilst that, you think Parliament can go?
Yes, parliamentary business can proceed. I mean, the case of Rebecca Adote even dragged on for years. But of course, now the process has been quickened by the enactment of various rules and regulations. So we expect the contest to be filed, I mean, the petition to be filed, as the law says, within 21 days. And I'm sure the courts will also deal with it expeditiously, and the outcome will be known, definitely before the end of the year that will be coming.
So, Mr. Adame, nevertheless, everybody is looking forward to the announcement by the Electoral Commission. You are very close to the President. Yes. What is the mood like ahead of the formal announcement by the EC?
President is very calm. I mean, he's actually sitting in his study, as always, so he's not acting in any manner unusual. Every day he goes to his study, he's still sitting in his study. He's been sitting there since morning, watching television, watching all your broadcasts and all. And indeed, it's very pertinent to note that right from the beginning, the President has always been the lead. if you would notice, right from the beginning, the president has always been the lead. In respect of the central region, where even now the NDC seems to have flipped and been the lead in respect of parliamentary contest, even there, he won the presidential election. So most of the areas, he's won the presidential election.
You don't expect a change?
Are you worried about you losing a lot of your parliamentarians losing their seat? Is the president worried? What is the mood like?
Oh, I think it's also important to cast our minds back. Until 2016, the parliamentary contest in Ghana has always been very close. Indeed, at every material time, where they have...
So we'll return to the president's residence very shortly and bring you that updates as we've been bringing you with that. Now we have some clarity on Savelugu. We'll come back to that. There's a lot to talk about that and how that affects the numbers in Parliament shortly. But this on your screen right now, we are back to the Electoral Commission headquarters where Parker Wilson is standing by with some further developments and updates on the situation there. Parker, what more can you report?
Can you chill to where they stand up?
We appear to have lost Parker there, but definitely we'll get Parker back because there's a lot to explain for you. But I want to go back to Elton Brobe. Elton Brobe is back from the president's residence shortly. He's giving us a further update.
1 day they're going to file a formal complaint with the Electoral Commission alleging voting irregularities, and that will put the entire process in question. But for now, the NDC can go and lay claim to the Savelugu parliamentary seat, but the NPP, they've served notice that as the law prescribes, within 21 days they will file a formal complaint with the Electoral Commission, and they will call for recalibration of the electoral results that came from the Savelugu constituency. My information is that the directive for the MP parliamentary candidate to concede defeat was at the behest of President Akufo-Addo, and that out of the way, we are told that the Electoral Commission now have the full component of the results from the 275 electoral areas, constituencies, and the presidential thing as well. What is going to happen is that the electoral chairperson will, in the next few minutes to come, will formally announce the outcome of the presidential election and parliamentary elections to the country. But as far as Savelugu is concerned, the notice has been served by the NPP that they will file a formal complaint with the Electoral Commission, and they will demand a recount of the polls, alleging that an electoral officer there voted more than once in both the presidential and parliamentary elections. So Evans, we are still at the Nima residence of President Akufo-Addo. As you can see, people I met here in the morning have all changed into white attire, and that for some signifies victory. Everything is set for President Akufo-Addo to come out and speak to the media, speak to the nation, but that will only come after the formal announcement by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, whom we are told it will happen very soon.
Home, where you are? Okay, Elton doesn't appear to have heard me, but another place you're watching for you, that's Parker right there. This is the Electoral Commission headquarters now. Parker, if you can hear me, I can see the atmosphere still remains very charged. We understand there's been some further developments there at the EC headquarters with NDC supporters having massed up there, demanding that the results are declared immediately. With some anxiety also. You see a whole host of military and police on the ground there as well.
Exactly, and to President Parker will be telling us what's happening.
Hello? Hello?
Okay.
So it means that they now have 133. So the outstanding has changed.
NDC, NDC's total tally. This is per our calculations, right? Total tally in Parliament for the NDC is, say it again?
133 now.
And the NDC will lose one.
The NPP will lose one.
NPP will lose one.
Yes, but
right?
that was actually outstanding.
Outstanding.
We not added it to the
that.
calculation.
Okay.
So that becomes 132. Still 132 because it wasn't part of it.
132.
Yes.
Right now, but there are a few outstandings that we are beginning to see where they're leaning, right?
So yes, if you go to the Western region in the Amenfi Central constituency, the NDC has won that seat.
Okay.
And so the Western region now, the NDC's number of seats would increase to 8.
8.
And no longer 7.
What does affect this?
It affects this, it moves to 134.
Okay. 134?
Yes.
I mean, stay with us, okay, because this is important as we begin to explain to you how the parliamentary outcome and the parliamentary picture may eventually emerge. This is beginning to tell you what it's going to be, because it appears the fight, and the NDC has been very consistent on hammering Parliament, in focusing there. John Mahama did same overnight, and we're seeing this play out. So you say NDC is at 134
now.
Seats in Parliament. That's against the NPP's 132. They've conceded one. Although they say to us, you're going to protest post it. Let's go. What else do we know in terms of the outstanding?
Outstanding, we have also the Trobo constituency and the Okankwe North constituency, all in the Greater Accra region. Now, in the Okankwe North constituency, let's get to, we don't have results coming yet. The NDC is claiming that they've won. Okay. And the NPP also says, hold on a minute, we're disputing it. So we'll leave the Greater Accra regional seats, including the Trobo constituency.
Because that is in dispute. That's in dispute.
But what we do know also is that if you go to the Ashanti region, the NPP is winning the Offenso, so let's go to the Ashanti region, Offenso South and Ofori-Krom constituency.
Okay, the two.
Two.
So you want to add that to this?
To this.
You want to add that to this?
Yes.
So the NPP's number here. I mean, the black you see is the breakdown, right? The blue on the screens here on our smart wall is the total tallies.
Exactly.
And we are now adding to it based on what is coming in still. So you say NPP from the 2 in Ashanti, they can put it down to
134.
134. Come back here. 34. Here we go.
Great. So you're not left with...
forgive me, Winston. Let's bring in our radio audiences into this as we see the pictures. Our drones are back in the aerial view there. Then you begin to appreciate the numbers that have gathered at the EC offices from the NDC. And they are filling in the roundabout in there. But of course, it appears clearly from what we're seeing from the aerial shots, the police and the military have managed to pin them in a particular part, in a particular corner of the area. And you have the EC offices on the other side. Yeah. So you see there in the middle of the street on a white line that divides the street right into two, we have a line, a long line of armed military and policemen standing in that white line. You see that long winding, it's not winding, actually it's one straight line there from the drone shots that we see. With the military standing in the middle of that street there, preventing the masses, of course, the crowd, from crossing to the other side where the Electoral Commission offices actually is. And so we keep focusing on this aerial view there, just so we can appreciate a bit more the security situation developing at the EC headquarters. So watch us. I'm saying if you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM, stay with us, use your ear, enjoy it, but just take your phone, if you have a smartphone, whatever you have, and watch it also unfold on our many social media platforms, YouTube, myjoyonline.com, Facebook. We are everywhere for you until this is done. So stay with us. Winston, let's go. So we are now at NPP 134, NDC 134.
And so what that means that, Evans, we're left with the Yendi and Zabzugu constituency.
Yendi and Zabzugu.
Yes, let's check the Yendi constituency.
Okay, for 2020?
2020, I'm sure we should have that showing now. Let's just find out. And that's the Yendi constituency for 2020. And also check the Zabzugu constituency. These constituencies are in the northern region.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have the results coming in from there. Okay, that's it. My indication is that the Yendi and Zabzugu will be coming out shortly, but the NPP are claiming that they've won those constituencies. But we're waiting for confirmation.
For the confirmation of that. I mean, so what it is that I want to send this away and bring back the calculations that we've been doing. What is this is that per our calculations, both MPP and NDC are tied.
At 134.
At 134 in Parliament. Whoever thought that a time will come in our elections in Parliament where at this stage, and there are a few outstanding yet, right? And so it hasn't been decided. But at this stage, both parties are tied at 134 seats equally in the House. Now that we've factored in a few of the outstanding, what remains? Initially, we did the tabulation of 132 with 10 outstanding, right? With 10 outstanding. Now, that 10 now has reduced further because we've accounted for a few of them.
4 of them. So now you're left with 6.
6 outstanding. Let me indicate that for you. 6 outstanding. So this picture here has an outstanding of 6. Okay? An outstanding of 6. Now,
and 1 independent.
And 1 independent. Now, the thing about that independent, we said, is he's more likely to lean MPP. Because he is still the incumbent Member of Parliament for Fomena.
Exactly, but even though,
for MPP.
For MPP, even though he was asked to leave Parliament, he had indicated that he was going to win the constituency and then work with the NPP. Mind you, the president said he was not willing to work with independent candidates. Would that change under the present circumstances?
That is a very important point, Winston. The president played his hand. The president played his hand before the polls, before we went to the polls. So will he eat humble pie now, now that the results had come in? And the independent candidate he had insisted I can't work with, well, can he eat humble pie and say, listen, you proved me wrong. I'm going to work with you. That would be a difficult conversation.
Well, it will be, but that could be a must-have conversation. You know, there are instances where your hands...
He has no choice now.
You have no choice now. You have to do it. Yeah.
He has no choice now.
Now he needs numbers and he needs majority in Parliament. Look, if it's tied at even 137, 138 for the NPP, what it means is that when it becomes very, very important to pass certain bills or agreements, and if you have one of your members of Parliament traveling outside the country, you would have to wait for that person to come into the country before you put it to a vote.
Okay. I mean, this is getting very interesting. Yeah. There's going to be some difficult conversations to be had in Parliament going forward. And I bet not even the president thought this was going to be the outcome. Nobody dreamt that this was going to be the outcome. And that's why he was confident to say, I'm not going to work with you. The man says, you don't know what you're talking about. He did an interview with Joseph Gakpo in Parliament and said, don't mind them. They'll work with me. I'm going to win. And when we had it, we did battlegrounds
with him.
And he said he was confident. And the thing about him, his calmness, he didn't fret. He was calm. He knew he was going to win.
And you see, now it is looking like it's his time now to tell you, look, I told you, now come and let's talk. And you know when it happens like this?
And the thing is, he doesn't even need to initiate it.
No. The NPP must look for him now. That's the most important thing. So we certainly would get to that, all those discussions shortly.
Yeah.
But it looks like...
I'm fascinated. This is the most fascinating elections yet. Mainly because of the parliamentary, not necessarily because of the presidential, because the presidential, from our projection, is done, dusted shortly. But here is a story there. If you're just joining us on Joy 99.7 FM and wherever it is that you're joining us from across the world, this picture here is what is beginning to unfold. If you're watching us on TV, here is it. MPP currently, per our numbers from Parliament, in terms of the outcomes from 2 days ago's elections now.
Yeah, that was on Monday. So that's 2 days.
Monday. The outcome in Parliament is on a knife's edge. Both parties are dead in the middle in terms of the seats. MPP, 134 seats to the NDC's 134 seats. There are 6 outstanding, and that will determine who has the majority there. And then there's 1 independent candidate. As we've explained, that independent candidate will have to play. Well, he doesn't have to play ball. The MPP must play ball with him. They must come and,
talk to him.
He will probably make demands of them. If I were him, I will do so because they need me. I don't need them.
Yeah.
Right? NDC. But here's the thing. He is open to both sides.
He could actually... So
he's open to both sides.
If it's a tie, so we have 6 outstanding. If it goes 3-3...
They can share 3-3, yeah.
The NDC can make an offer and say, you know what, we'll make you first deputy speaker. If you accept it. And first deputy speakers retire on their salary. They retire on their benefits. You're going to be there. If he accepts it, bingo, he's gone. The NPP could say, you know what, look, you're part of us. You know, we put you there in the first place in 2016. Don't worry, there were a few issues here and there. How about you come in and we make you a minister? Because in many of the instances, in 2008...
A minister versus... You see, when you're a minister, this is getting interesting. When you're a minister, the president can sack you tomorrow.
But when you're an independent candidate, I
guess what the point I make, forgive me, the point I'm making is that, as against your first suggestion, if I'm him, would I be the president's, would I be at the president's beck and call as a minister where he can sack me, or be the deputy speaker of parliament where I'm secure?
Well, you may want to choose that first deputy speaker. But the point also is that, let me tell you something. Are you aware that Dr. Ibn Chambers in 1993 was elected first deputy speaker? But when Jerry John Rawlings nominated him as deputy foreign affairs minister, he stopped being first deputy speaker and accepted it as deputy foreign minister. And I am told, let me end on this note, I am told that when Malik Al-Hassan Yakubu, when the then majority whip, Osei Chairman Sabonisi, walked up to him and said, I am nominating you as second deputy speaker. The first thing he said was, what if Ulman calls me back?
Here we go.
To be a minister.
Here we go.
It looks like, under the circumstances, it's good if you're a minister. And in this situation, if you're an Akufo-Addo, you dare not sack Andy Osiama.
That is after you have appointed him?
You dare not.
Why? Why would he dare?
Because your future is in his hands.
In
Parliament.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense too. No, but this is really fascinating. Listen, let's get more on this because our parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is joining us via Zoom right now as we begin to salivate over these parliamentary numbers. Joseph, you had the privilege of interviewing this independent candidate who, for some very strange reason, is still the NPP candidate for Fomena, NPP member of Parliament for Fomena. You must be licking your lips at the analysis we've been doing on our smart wall with all these numbers populating this white space here. And I wonder what you're thinking. Listen, I'm going to put an application to be the parliamentary correspondent in the next 4 years. You replace me as the head of the political desk because that is where I want to be for the next 4 years, Joseph.
It's likely to be a very interesting space, right, in Parliament with how the figures are looking like. So, first of all, for the records, Andrew Esiama is no longer member of Parliament per a decision that the House took just before the House went on break. The Speaker announcing that following the petition that the NPP had actually brought to Parliament, signed by officials of the Ashanti Regional Branch of the party, he had been expelled from Parliament. So, when the House actually resumes sitting next week Tuesday. So the House is actually coming back next week Tuesday on the 14th of December. The Speaker issued the 2-week notice of call that needs to be given them on the 30th of November. And so on Tuesday, the House is sitting. When the House sits on Tuesday, the Fomena MP will not have the privilege of being part of the sitting because he's currently been expelled as a member of Parliament and he didn't go ahead and challenge that. But then, of course, he's coming back. As far as
why should he bother to challenge it? I mean, after this, if I were him, I'm sitting now sipping on some Kool-Aid. Wondering what's the point about me. Go on.
That even makes his situation, it makes his condition a very interesting one because now you wrote to the Speaker of Parliament, like we're saying, you wrote to the Speaker of Parliament and asked that I be, sacked from the House. Yeah. The Speaker has sacked me. So I'm no longer a member of Parliament. But now you know that I am coming back. And as things stand, even if the NPP should still win all of this, they still would need, a convincing majority. And they would love to talk to him to join them. And so Andrew Esiama will be the most important person in Ghana's Parliament from the 7th of January.
If I'm NDC, I'm calling him right now. I'm watching us on television. I'm saying, goodness, do you hear what Joseph Gakpo had said? Let's try and pitch him and bring him in because clearly, if what Joseph has said is true, and it's true because it's confirmed and he was in Parliament when this happened, he's possibly been alienated, right, from his own political party.
But Evans, the interesting bit is this: that in having conversations with some of the majority MPs, particularly from the Ashanti region, at the time that the letter had been communicated, to Parliament that Mr. Siama should be expelled because he had left the NPP by virtue of the fact that he was running independent, I sensed that there was a strong support for him from the backbench that he shouldn't pay heed to what the party was saying. And in fact, in some conversations with some MPs on the majority side, they were very doubtful of the likelihood of the speaker triggering the provisions in the standing orders to expel him from Parliament. So the point I'm driving at is, even at the time when there was the push by the Ashanti Regional MPP, and for that matter, the MPP as a party, to get him out of the House, as far as the majority MPs are concerned, and as far as the backbench when it comes to the majority MPs are concerned, they were clear in their minds that this wasn't possible. And in fact, in some conversations with some MPs, they quoted legal positions. Of course, this wasn't an on-the-record conversation because they were not ready to openly confront their party executives on this. But they repeatedly made the point that they felt that there wasn't a legal basis for Mr. Siama to actually be expelled from Parliament. So I get the sense that as far as his colleagues are concerned, he's not exactly been alienated 100%. I'm sure a lot of them, even after he was expelled, were sympathizing with him and were, virtually urging him on going forward, which is what gives me the indication that all other things being equal, he will join the majority side. In fact, in that conversation with him, if you would recall, that we played back on TV and on radio, he repeatedly made the point. And that conversation dragged for a while. He repeatedly made the point that I am winning the seat for the MPP. He said that about 3 or 4 times in the 3.5-minute interview that we did, that he was winning the seat and he was winning it deliberately for the NPP. But of course, now he has an open check. He probably just has to append what exactly he would want from the party in return, not in terms of cash, but in terms of a cool positioning in order to be able to continue staying on as a member of the majority side. But obviously, he is the most important member of Parliament elect at this juncture as far as the Republic of Ghana is concerned.
I mean, and possibly ever in our history. I mean, ever in our history. Well, I mean, maybe let me play it safe, in our fourth Republican history. Well, possibly.
You can say
also
that.
Because we've never been this tight in Parliament.
We've never been this tight.
Before, where one independent candidate can actually flip the mind. Because again, we have an even number of outstanding seats. And that can equally go 3-3, as you said. In that case, you need
this man to do the job.
You need this man to give you the outright majority. I mean, simple majority in Parliament.
Exactly. But in 2008, Hassan Azong, he joined the NDC, eventually became a minister, and he was unseated by Clement Apak, even though the agreement that the PNC had was that they're not going to touch his seat. Some of these things do happen, but there's nobody who would be wanted by both sides. If it ends 137-137, I tell you one thing, he will be the most important person in our party.
Honestly, I must admit, actually, in addition to that even now, before even this is settled, he's the most independent, he's the most important person. In fact, if I am NDC, it won't hurt to pick a phone and put in a call and start picking his brain. And start picking his brain on this. Joseph is still with us. Joseph, let's go through this a bit more because there's a lot happening in Parliament. This is one of the most exciting parts of this process, of this picture that is emerging. By the way, we're still looking at our aerial shots of the Electoral Commission area. The crowd is still there, amassed in that particular area. Joseph, let me bring you in. You've been analyzing, from the results that we've had so far for Parliament, some very interesting, interesting picture is beginning to emerge. And you were telling me the story. Share with our audiences what picture you're beginning to pick up.
And so one thing we are very certain of is that the next Parliament would have a lot of very, very new faces. We've been looking at the data on the number of MPs who are exiting the House as far as this 7th Parliament is concerned. So currently there are 275 MPs from the figures that are coming up, and it could go a little higher than that, but about 110 MPs are not likely to return to Parliament going into the 8th Parliament. So, for example, we've had a situation of looking at this particular election that just ended on December 7. There are about 18 NDC MPs who have lost elections just looking at the December 7 polls that unfolded just 2 days ago. About 18 of them, at least 18. It could be more, depending on how things will pan out with the outstanding seats. It's not just that. On the side of the New Patriotic Party, there are 33 incumbent NPP MPs who have lost, including more than 21 ministers of state, ministers and deputy ministers, and then some folks as far as the leadership of parliament is concerned. So, for example, the first deputy majority chief whip, Matthew Nindam, has lost his seat from what we are being told. Now, in addition to this 33 NPP MPs who lost elections 2 days ago, additionally, if you recall, 41 NPP MPs actually lost in their primaries. So if you add the 41 to the 33, then we are speaking of more than 70 plus MPs who are currently in this house who are not returning. And then there's an extra 4 MPs who are retiring after serving for various durations in Parliament. So Dr. Anthony Akutosei decided not to contest, not just him, Shirley Ayokobote also decided not to contest. And then we have 2 others. Now, on the NDC side as well, apart from the 18 who did lose the just ended elections on December 7, there are about 10 of them. There are about 10 of them who decided they were, not that they decided, but who actually did lose the primaries as far as the NDC is concerned. So the likes of the Kumbungu MP, Ras Mubarak, not just him, Joseph Yele Chire is also one of the other MPs who actually did lose their seats, and then a number of others. So they are also getting out of the house. And it doesn't end there. There are another batch of about 7 members of parliament on the NDC side who are also retiring. So you can talk of the MP for the Keta constituency, Richard Koshiga, the MP for the Anglo area, Clement Humado, Alban Bagben, the veteran Alban Bagben we know is also not returning to the house, and a number of others. So that list has also been put aside, and they are also not coming back to the house. So, you know, in this particular parliament, there was very huge concern that there were so many new faces who had come in. The records, as we've seen, have been that there are a number of the new ones who came in and they did quite well with regards to how they did things in this particular 7th parliament. But you see the trends that parliament is a house of procedure, parliament is a house of processes. You may have all the knowledge, you may have all the understanding of key political issues and all, but chances are that when you get into the house and you are serving your 2nd term, and all the MPs who have been rated very highly in their performance are MPs who have been around for at least 1 term. The ranking that we've seen, particularly on the minority side, the likes of Samuel Okudzeto Blakwa, Ato Forsen, James Agalga, are folks who have served at least 1 term before this particular term. Again, you could speak of those who are coming in freshly and have done quite well and say it's possible that this time around the new faces who are coming in will do similarly well. But, you know, experience always plays a key role in anything, and we all just wait to see how things will pan out. But it's clear that we'll have a lot of very new faces in the next parliament. About 40% of all the MPs that we have are not returning, either by virtue of the fact that they lost their primaries or they lost the main election, or they are retiring. We wait to see how things will pan out in the next parliament.
Okay, Joseph. Joseph, stay with me. Do you say 40% of all members of parliament who were there with you in the last 4 years are not coming back?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. 113 of them are not returning out of the 275. It could go up. So, for example, Savelugu's seat is currently being held by an incumbent MP, meaning if the NPP loses that seat, then the figure goes up. The seat in Trobu is also being held by an NPP MP, the 2nd deputy majority whip, that Moses Enim. So then if the NDC is able to lay hold of that seat, then the figure will go up to 115, and there are a number of others. So it could also get beyond the 40% that we're seeing thus far as the total number of incumbent MPs who will not be returning as far as the 8th parliament is concerned.
Okay, Joseph, stay with me. Guess what we've done? We went to look for that interview you did with the Fomena MP. I don't know what I should say, former Fomena MP, but somehow who is arguably the most important man in and around Parliament right now. This is the interview, and that interview should give you an indication of where this one extra vote there, extra seat may lean towards this year. Listen to that interview Joseph did with him.
Everything's over.
Everything is over.
Yes.
There's a lot of appeals to you. We told the president, Kennedy Japan, others are intervening, asking you to step down.
Well, I think it's belated. The notice of pool has come. My name is there. I'm part of them. If they have sacked me, I'm still part of them. So don't worry. I'm winning for them. I'm winning for the party. Don't worry.
In fact, they say they've dismissed you from the party
Well,
by virtue
they
of the
have
fact
dismissed me, but I'm still in. I'm winning for the party.
How can you continue belonging to a group which says we've made you an outside member?
They are saying they have dismissed me, but I am telling you I'm winning for the party. You see, you people, you media men, I've had a lot of discussion about this particular issue. Please, let me have a bit of my peace. Let me say one thing. Let me say one thing. What I can assure you is that I will be part of the 8th Parliament. That is what is important.
They've asked that from the 7th Parliament, you'll be taken out by virtue of the fact that the MPP...
Today you see me.
Yes,
you see me. I'm in
is what I
Parliament.
meant.
I'm just walking out from the chamber. I'm part of
But what do you make of the demand they're asking that the Speaker gets you out of the 7th Parliament?
Please. What I'm saying, I've had a lot of of this particular issue. I don't want to jump into that angle. I am still part of Parliament.
Do you think they have a legal basis?
I'm not going to discuss that thing because no letter or documentation has been given to me to that effect. So I don't need to discuss anything, probably speculatively. So once we didn't get there, we need to
So as far as you're concerned, you are staying in the 7th Parliament, so
of course,
it expires on the 6th of January.
Of course, I'm just in the chamber, so I don't need to even discuss this issue.
How are things looking like on the ground? Does it look like you are getting a lot of support? Because then the claim is that the party supported you, which is how come you won the seats on the different occasions.
So if the party supported me, fine. This time around, the entire constituents are supporting me. So I'm coming back to Parliament. Just watch my lips. I will be part of the 8th Parliament. Brilliant.
Out of the fear that because of you going independent, it may create a division that may create a chance for the NDC.
No.
But what gives you that confidence?
I am saying that.
But what gives you that confidence, especially when you're an independent person and the party that you are part of also has its own candidate?
My brother, listen to me. All this discussion will not even arise. I'm saying I'm winning and winning and winning. So don't go to that discussion.
Are you angry with the party? Do you have qualms with the party by virtue of the fact that they're trying to get you?
I don't have any qualms with the party. Of course, taking that steps, I'm not oblivious of the consequential effect with respect to that steps I took. So I'm okay with it. There's no problem at all.
You don't care that they see you now as an outsider who has betrayed.
But I was sitting, friends, with them. We were all chatting. We were doing everything together.
Do you get the sense that your colleagues, particularly on the majority side, support the request, for example, from the party that you be removed from Parliament?
My brother, we've gone past that. I've discussed that matter with you and with other media houses.
What's your projection? By how percentage are you likely to
win? I'm winning and winning and winning. At least expect about 70% of the popular votes. Thank you very much.
Okay, wait, 70% he said there. Gakpo, hold on. I want to pull this up. Let's see if he managed to hit that. Our smart wall can tell us. Just give me a few seconds. Let me pull this up. Fomena is in the Ashanti region. Resize this. Let's look for it together. This is Ashanti region. If you spot Fomena, here we go. Okay, so here we go. This is Fomena. 83%. Oh, forgive me. No, that's 10 out. that's 10 out. By the way, let's see. This is an independent candidate performance there. Well, valid votes 10 out. I mean, we need to get this fixed. Let's get it fixed so we can pull up his performance for our audiences to watch. But Joseph, he called it absolutely on. He won it. We're going to pull up for you very shortly. This is the 10 out. The 10 out was very high. Valid votes was 36,000. We're going to pull up My producers are working on this to get this up so that we could correct this very quickly and see if his 74% he said, Joseph, was it 74% he said he'll get? 70. We'll get that corrected shortly. And see
he said he will get at least 70%.
At least 70%. He
said you get at least 70%.
We'll
yes.
see, we have that. We have that. And the reason why that area is this color is because it's independent. We'll try and get you the actual numbers very, very soon. Yes? But Joseph, stay with me. Stay with me. There's one more thing I need to do because the president said something. The president said something to him that I also want to play, and I'll come back to you, Joseph. Let's watch this. This is the president just before the votes, after Joseph had done his interview, and the man was categorical that I ain't going to budge. The president went in there and did something. Let's watch. Yeah, we'll try and bring that because that will give you a bit of context. But Joseph, you were saying?
I've tried to pull out the details from the Fomena constituency.
Okay.
So Andrew Asiama Mwakon, he won by 48.56%, getting more than 12,805 votes.
Okay.
While the NPP candidates got 40.95% of votes. That's
48.56%,
which is far below what he had projected he was going to get, when we had that conversation. But clearly, he had so much strong conviction that he was going to win this seat, even in that conversation. And he repeatedly made that point in that particular conversation. The other bit that again gave me the impression, and I had this conversation with one of our colleagues at Asempa FM, even before the post itself, that I felt the guy knew what he was doing. As they say in that very popular proverb, when a blind man says, I'll throw a stone at you, then he probably has his leg on something. So I really got the sense that at least he had done his analysis, he had made the efforts, he had continued his campaigning and was clear in his mind. Because, look, the other bit of this, the 9th before the elections, on the 6th of December 2020, I tried reaching out to him fruitlessly. And the reason I tried reaching out to him was that there were a number of reports that were making rounds that himself and a number of the NPP candidates had actually stepped down ahead of the December 7 polls. And in fact, some very major media houses in the country did publish that detail, that Mr. Makwesiama had stepped down and that he was encouraging folks in the constituency to vote for the NPP and that he's only on the ballot, but it just so happens that he's stepping down. Eventually, he came out to deny that he wasn't stepping down. Subsequently, meaning has been read into it that there was probably an attempt to trick the voters in the area into thinking that he had stepped down to then ensure that the NPP still wins the seat, but that's obviously backfired. But looks like this man's conviction that he was going to win the seat is something that he had very strongly. And just to put this on record, he's not one of those who went into the NPP primaries and did lose the primaries, subsequent to which he decided to go independent. No. He actually decided that he will not contest the NPP primary. That was actually what happened. Because he said he had sensed the situation where there was a deliberate ploy by the constituency executives to get him out. And he made a number of allegations that some individuals had changed the list of voters, the album was not transparent. So eventually when the NPP opened nominations for people to file their nominations to contest in the NPP primaries earlier this year, as far as the Fomena constituency seat is concerned, he did not file his nominations, he didn't contest. So the folks who had filed their nominations went into the contest, and months after that, he came out to say, well, I'm now deciding to go independent. So obviously, the decision to go independent and what he had projected will work for him is not something that just happened out of the blues. He'd been planning this all this while. He'd been clearing his mind on what he wanted to do all this while. And obviously, it's taking more than just bright stars for him to get here. Most likely, proper planning, being clear in his mind that he knew what he was doing is what has actually led us to this particular stage. From the evidence of what we've seen previously, now there are questions coming up. Will the NPP, beyond just accepting him into the majority fold in the next parliament, there are questions about if he decides to stand again as MP, will the party allow him to do that?
Yeah,
what happens next 4 years going into the 2024 polls?
And Joseph,
it's something also worth looking at.
And Joseph, that's a very important question. Why is that? By the way, you see in on the smart wall, 48.56%. That is how much he got to win the seat there. What happened? So he didn't get 50 or anything close to 70 because there was an NPP candidate who also took a bit of the margins, but he won it with this. But Joseph, the question you ask is so critical because it leaves the NDC between a rock and a hard place. Because if it stands again in the next elections, right, 2024, and he wants to stand as an NPP candidate, remember, the party's constitution says once you go independent, you forfeit your membership, right? So you are dismissed from the party. As it is right now, he is no longer a member of the NPP because he has violated the party's constitution, right? Now, if you want to bring him back, what message are you sending to people who want to do the same, right? And they already have in Parliament a second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, a first Deputy Speaker of Parliament who was once same, right? Also moved into independent, should have been dismissed, but he goes in, they work with him, they actually elevated him to become first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Guess what? In the next elections, Joseph Owusu now goes back to contest as an MPP candidate. Second time they will be forced possibly to do this. It just shows that you have a constitution that you cannot necessarily enforce in all cases because all the hands aren't equal. And as they say sometimes, equality before the law. That's not true sometimes. Depending on how many votes you can give me, I can bend the rules for you. You know what I mean? This is how where the MPP finds themselves in the case of the Fomena MP. They simply have to eat humble pie. The name of the game is votes, not necessarily what the Constitution says, which is what they will have to do. But that's a good question. Joseph, stay with me. I want to bring you the video of the president. When the president had attempted to convince him, literally begging him to change his mind. This is the president just before the elections.
I would say independent candidate, no, M1 for me now, M1 dance my because a bandesa, not just say, Massive Bedroom Hall, Munyo Bia, or near Banabit, Casa Mamma, a Dinfaso, a Benyawaba. So, opinion say me, mentioned Antias, and Mete say, why not say Bia or Beko independent candidate? Long before, about 3 months. Me said that friend. I mean, to say, Mattis has me. Say, oh, per se, oh, quite independent. I mean, so independent, no. M1 me. So I need to be crying out, oh, near independent candidate for parliament. It's completely dominated by party candidates. And they are now between me and you. Ain't it? So from so be a bar. Na san from so ntina bufu aba wo afa o person ko jina independent Mr. Yan from bufu no any from so ento nchai yan to aba na wie na bia sese ye e manti ase ye adwuma e ma wo so unya wa hoto no mini president to me me sana wo ntino wo da hwe me so dia sese me ataboafo Yoko ya tabwa for Akobi. Tabwa for no any ambassador wa Congo. You know paying ka we na. All free me hono. And visa bia what him say. Say on him say. To wa kwakoye bia.
Okay, so that is the president there, and there's something that the president actually confirms, and we had been speculating about this. The president, and well, for those who may not understand Cree, in essence, what the president was saying, and this was, the president had gone to campaign in Fomena, and he was addressing the chiefs and people, and was saying to them, when I heard the fact that the incumbent member of parliament on the MPP wanted to go independent, I reached out to him, I called him, I explained to him to back down, and I wanted to understand his problem, right? And, the primaries is a primary, it's concluded. And then he goes into explaining to us, it sort of gives you an insight into what happened in the conversations between himself and the president and others in the party. The president says, I pointed to another former candidate who had a similar circumstance, felt aggrieved at the primary, but he played ball. He agreed to work with us, and now he's an ambassador. Yeah. In other words, what he was confirming is that they might have offered the Fomena MP either a ministerial position or some other appointment, an ambassadorial position. And the man clearly says, I'm sorry, I don't need an ambassadorial position. But here's the thing. Now, he is worth far more than an ambassadorial position.
And now he's worth a cabinet minister.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you are in the NPP, Andrew Esiama is worth a cabinet ministerial position. And that's how important it is. But you're talking about going independent. Look, Shaba went independent. You know, Sete Jeba. He went independent in 2008. He went back to the primaries. The NPP accepted him. And what they do, Joseph will tell you, is that, 3 months to elections, they cross carpets. And when they cross carpet like that, these are independent candidates. So the NPP will hold on. When they cross carpet, you just have to wait. The elections are conducted in their constituencies. They win. Joseph Osei did it. Sete Jeba did it. Sete Jeba actually lost the primaries when he went for primaries, when he decided to come back on a ticket of the NPP. Having lost the primaries in 2008, goes independent, wins, comes back to parliament, goes for the primaries again in 2012, loses, tries independent again, he loses. And it was same in Nanaya Ofori Kuragu's case in the Bosomi Freho constituency. So, look, if you're NPP and you have an independent candidate who says, I want to come into your fold, you don't say that the party constitution says we wouldn't allow it. The party constitution allows the National Executive Committee to waive some of these qualifications. And in their case, the National Executive Committee will waive those.
But you see the problem it creates for the NPP. You also don't want to encourage stuff like is happening in Fomena going forward. Because they did it with Bekwai. And in fact, in Bekwai, there was an independent candidate.
Yes, this time around, yeah.
And why did the guy stand? Because he's, but why? The guy who is your first municipal parliament, isn't that what you did for him? He went independent, and you elevated, you rewarded him. So why must it be different for me? In spite of the president's threat that I can't work with you, the guy went. Of course, we know he lost, right? So what the point is, if you keep doing this and bending your own rules because somebody is bringing you more votes, it encourages others to follow suit. And that is where law and order breaks down in a party.
I mean, yes, I get you. But you see, when Victor Beho did it in 2000, and he went into parliament, he joined the NDC. He won the Angola constituency, the ticket of as an independent candidate. Now, he tried to cross to the NDC so he could contest. Now, he was prevented from. I remember squadron leader Sowu then saying he will go to court if the NDC accepted Victor Beho. He tried as an independent candidate and lost to, Kofi Humado. But the point is, for you as the political party, if it's clear this man is solid on the ground, my brother, take him.
So I guess you now brought up a very, very important point. Why did the NPP miss this in Fomena? They should have known that this guy was actually going to win the elections. I mean, how did they miss this?
So this is the point, and this is the point. You've raised a very important point. But this man, Honorable Esiama, did not contest the primaries.
Well, he did not. But my point is, because he saw what was about to happen,
Thank you.
He believes that the process had been manipulated against him.
Thank you. Thank you. So he knew he was going to lose because at that point in time, he didn't have the support of the delegates. Yeah. But he believed the silent majority.
I work for him.
I mean, work for him.
But I guess, so whoever won the primary was some big man's favorite. We all know how the game is played. You must have a godfather, right, who oversees and shepherds you through the process, right? I'm assuming whoever won it had a godfather who was pushing me on. My question again remains, whoever was backing this gentleman, for which reason, and again, it's true, he saw that stuff was being manipulated against him, right? And he goes to say, I'm not even going to contest, because once you contest, you've locked in. You've legitimized the process that led to your defeat.
Yes, you can't get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So why the NPP should have known that he is my he is still our favorite guy. The point is, if you allow, so two things, either purely the delegates missed this real sentiment of the bigger population in the entire constituency, or as we know, primaries have become very susceptible to manipulation. The process was manipulated against him, right? And if it did that, there was some complicity of some, party officers. They would have clearly then missed the point about this is a case of party against the bigger picture, right? Or the greater good. Many people in the constituency like him, but primaries, they would have chosen somebody else and the party would have
Evans, let me practicalize this for you. If you are in Punkatamanso constituency.
Yes.
If I want you to be member of parliament on the ticket of a political party, okay, what I will do is simply to say, Evans, we want you to contest in 2023. Let us start now by electing polling station executives who believe in our agenda. You may have Jojo, who is the incumbent member of parliament, and thinks that, well, things are okay for him. He sleeps a little bit, you sweep it. The moment you sweep it, you become the decider in the constituency. You understand?
Yeah.
Jojo may be very popular in the larger constituency, but amongst your party's delegates, it is you. The moment you're done with the polling station executives, what it means is that you can determine who becomes the chairman. And once you have the executives on your side, you can scheme to have you as a parliamentary candidate. So for him, Andrew, one of the things I heard him say was that he did not believe that executives were going to have a fair process, and he feels they are connived to see him lose. And so it's a case of maybe somebody outsmarting him in the election of polling station executives, which they do all the time, and that's the reason why it's one of the most keenly contested elections in every political party, because you want to ensure that if you win, then it means that you can be MP. And for those who are seeking regional positions, if you win, if you have your people within the constituency executive committee, then you're sure that you are also going to be, the regional chairman or what have you. The dynamics in politics.
Dakpo. Hello, Joseph.
Yeah. The story and the conversation in Fomena has been that the constituency chairman, there's a gentleman called Akwesinti, who has been constituency chairman in Fomena for more than 20 years now. In fact, a few days ago, just before the election, I think sometime last 2 weeks, when President Akufo-Addo was in the area, one of the things he said was to request that Akwesinti, who has been constituency chairman for the last 20 years, shouldn't seek another term. He should pave way, because to a certain extent, he's seen as the source of all the cracks that are emerging in that particular constituency. Now, the claim is that most of the times, when you come in as MP and you play ball with him, he keeps you on. When you fall out with him, then he engineers the processes to get someone else into the space, and then he allegedly works against you. That's been the repeated allegation. So among one of the things that was suggested, even when the president was in the area, is that in order to bring peace to Fomena, we should see a situation where Akwesinti should let go a lot of his powers and, not even stand again as constituency chairman going into the next years in order to allow for peace to prevail. So it goes back to the point. But then it raises the question about why we should continue keeping a system that is not representative of the feeling in the constituency as far as our political parties are concerned. Because repeatedly, that's been the complaint, that delegates go ahead and either elect or boot out people based on who has more money to pay, when sometimes the choice of the party people doesn't reflect the sentiment within the constituency and sometimes within the larger party as a whole. And then it raises the point that if we want to create a situation where we are creating a near equal situation, where the sentiment of the party reflects the sentiment of the population as a whole, or even if you want to create a situation where the sentiment of the delegates reflects that of the broader party, then it's about time we allow for an open contest where more party people are actually involved in the selection of who becomes a parliamentary candidate on the ticket of the party, rather than limiting it to a few who could just be influenced, and then eventually things would go out of place. So there are a number of examples like that. So, for example, in Akwetia, the talk is going out there that if we had seen a situation where Amase had gone back on the ticket of the party, she probably could have won. And it's not just there. You know, the NPP actually lost more than 40 MPs in the primaries. And then after that, there are a number of them where new candidates took over the mantle. And these are seats that the NPP had held for a while. They ended up losing it. So for me, it goes back to that point. Because I think if Mr. Siama, for example, had seen a situation where there was an open contest, more people involved, he would have agreed to participate. It's clear in his mind that it wouldn't be hugely influenced. But just to make the final point, if I was an advisor to Mr. Siama, or I was in his shoes, one of the things I will ask that the party gives me before I get onto their side would be that they should protect me going into the 2024 election and avoid a situation where someone comes in and attempts to snatch my seat. Oh, well, I mean, that definitely must be part of the set of demands he'll put forward to whoever comes to talk to him. But there's another point there, Jaco, as you were saying, that with the sheer number of losses that the NPP has suffered in Parliament, I wonder, is the NPP paying for the primary, the lack of democratic openness and fair play in the primaries that we saw, the massive complaints across the country during the period in Ashanti region, in Isi, and all across the country, there were complaints that the process wasn't fair, the playing field had been uneven, and powers that be were controlling the process and manipulating it so their people get elected in the primaries. I wonder if the results that we are beginning to see now in Parliament, with the NPP catastrophically losing so many seats in there, is their sins in the primaries catching up with them in the 2020 elections. That could well be the case. I mean, it could be one of those factors, but we need to study this closely. One of the things we need to disaggregate, right, to possibly understand this a bit more, is the new faces that the primary process produced. How many of them managed to hold on to MPP seats that, you know, they were about to replace in the House? What I mean is, there are places that were held by the NPP going into the 2020 elections. How many of these seats did these new faces that the primary produced, did they manage to hold on to, right? That will certainly give you a sense of how effective, fair, and representative of the will of the people the primary process was, right? And for me, the biggest lesson for the parties is let your primaries reflect the will of the people. And Joseph, it comes back to the point you made, and I've heard many governance experts make the same point. Open up the primary process for everybody who can't pick up a membership card to vote. I mean, why limit it to a few people? Precisely. I mean, yes, Joseph. And in fact, there have been even claims in some of the constituencies, including allegedly in Narungo Central, that after the incumbent MP lost the primary there to someone who was also equally influential in the area, there's the claim and the allegation being peddled around that incumbent MP, Joseph Ada, allegedly did not back the NPP's candidate going into this particular election. And, you know, when there were issues about how Parliament was going to actually operate after a lot of them lost, there was the talk that just maybe it provides the NPP a lot more campaigning hands, because now there's a fresh candidate, there's an incumbent MP who will then crisscross the constituency at different times and whip up more votes. But what did we see? In quite a number of the constituencies, then we saw a situation where the incumbent MPs who had lost were not actually involved in the campaigning of the candidates who had picked their positions going into the upcoming election. And obviously, not just the acrimony, but even that position where some of the MPs took a laid-back position in the campaigns of those who took over from them because they thought the processes had not been fair enough, to a very large extent affected a lot of the vote in some of the areas. So obviously that is something that the party needs to look at going forward. But the tricky bit is that, so you've had a situation where in quite a number of the constituencies where the incumbent MPs lost in the primaries, they were actually losing to folks who were government appointees and were chief executives of various government corporations and allegedly were making more money through that. And that's how come they were able to raise more than enough resources to unseat the incumbent MPs. Now, the question is, as they say, karma can be a very tricky kind of thing. Chances are that that same scenario may be playing back going into the next election, because one of the things we can expect is if the president wants to keep a strong hold of the party in parliament, a conscious effort needs to be made to avoid a situation where too many MPs are appointed as ministers. Of course, the constitution makes the point that majority of ministers must come from parliament and all, but I'm tempted to think the president may just keep it at the threshold that allows to meet the constitutional provision and look outside the more in terms of appointing ministers, because you would want to avoid a situation where when you need MPs on the floor to vote for particular bills because your opponents have concerns about them, then those MPs, because they are serving as ministers, have probably traveled out of the country, are on official duty. So I foresee a situation where the president would want to lessen the burden on a lot of the MPs and allow them to serve in parliament. Then it raises the other question. If a lot of them are serving in parliament and focusing on that, then the additional kind of resources that may come from having to actually serve as a minister of state would not come in, which would leave them with far less resources going into the next 4 years. So we may just have a situation of, history repeating itself and some of those scenarios playing out. We've seen some of those who are various government appointees, allegedly who wanted to go into this race, being asked to hold on until the next election and all, and allow for their candidates to contest in places up north and all. We are likely to see the same scenario play out. And obviously, a lot will depend on how the leadership of the NPP at the national executive level will manage some of these things going forward. And again, the point Winston referred to, who is likely to lead the party going into the 2024 elections at the level of the national executives, who will then manage these processes going into the 2024 parliamentary primaries and all, will be obviously crucial, because they need a lot of tact in terms of how they'll manage things so this scenario doesn't repeat itself and create a more sinking situation for the NPP as far as parliament is concerned.
Joseph, stay with me, because there's a lot more to talk about with these parliamentary elections still playing out, and it's here on the screens. Our analysis and a breakdown of the numbers. We are waiting 6 outstanding constituencies that are subject of some controversy. So as it stands now, 134 seats held by the NPP, 134 seats held by the NDC. There is one independent, and that's what we've been talking about for the last few minutes, because that independent can be the decider, because you have an even number of outstanding, and that could easily be shared 3-3. If that happens, you're talking about 137 with that one independent candidate determining who holds the majority in parliament. And so that is the situation there. Remember, both parties are claiming to have secured the majority. We will get clarity for you very shortly here on your election headquarters. But one of the key things I want to point out is one of the biggest lessons or the benefits of what is panning out in parliament right now is that the parties may be forced now to do what many have suggested: open up the primary process. And I possibly expect in the next 4 years, you begin to see the parties beginning to have this conversation, because they know this is going to happen. Maybe more of the NPP than the NDC, because they have become the biggest casualty in this process of allowing your internal party processes to be very undemocratic, producing people that will not reflect the actual sentiments of the people generally in your constituency. We possibly will see a bigger conversation rise to the national, to the front burner about the parties themselves beginning to figure out how do we open up the process a bit more so we can get closer to the will of the people in terms of the elections of the people, election of people who represent us in Parliament. Joseph, just before you go, Joseph, you were in Adenta for us this year, covering the Adenta elections on Monday. I want to pull up Greater Accra and pull up Adenta for you on our smart wall here, because that constituency, again, produced one of those results Gakpo has talked about. Gakpo has done a calculation, Joseph, and concludes that we are talking about some 40%. 40% of members of parliament have lost their seats. That is outstanding. One of those individuals who lost his seat, and part of that bracket, is the gentleman in this particular area, Adenta, that is Yabuabia Samoa. He lost his seat. And Joseph, you were there for us. And you live in the constituency as well. Mohammed Ramadan, who had run before and had lost, Winston must eat humble pie here. When we did Battleground, Winston told me that even the NDC people fear this guy might not do it, and so they are taking over his campaign, running it for him. It appears that he's managed to pull a fast one there. But Joseph, tell us, there may have been things in this that accounted for this result in Adenta, where Yababia Samoa has fallen and giving way to Ramadan. What were the sentiment? What do you put this down to? You lived there, but you covered it, so you must know a bit more than us.
A number of points come up here. So, for example, there was a complaint that Boabian Samoa wasn't very much on the ground most of the times. He allegedly uses the excuse of having to work for the party as director of communications right at the headquarters, to then not do a lot of work in the constituency, not showing up for party-focused activities and all, because then his explanation is that he has to be in the headquarters managing communication. So that's admittedly one of the things that took a bit of his time in terms of having to focus on what he needs to do as director of communications, apart from his work as member of parliament. But there was the broader point that when you live in a constituency like Adenta, where there are a lot of middle-class people who are civil servants work in Accra and make the trip all the way to the constituency at the end of the day, they pay attention to very key issues, particularly within the media space. So just to cite this example, when, for example, you are MP in a rural constituency, your constituents will just be excited by virtue of the fact that they see you on television and you communicate for the party and you are vocal within the media space. And for them, that may be a very exciting thing, because they would want to make the point that our MP is always on television. You know, after they've seen you on TV, when they see you in person, then they are more excited. When you live in an urban place like Adenta, and you are out there leading communication for the party, defending party position when it comes to issues that a lot of folks within the civil society are raising concerns about and are criticizing, like a JAPA, by virtue of the JAPA deal, by virtue of your position as the director of communications of the party, then you need to defend it and all. When you are an MP in an urban area, presiding over an enlightened bunch of constituents, they are not only excited by virtue of the fact that you are out there, but they pay attention to the content of what you are churning out. And so chances are that they'll punish you or reward you, not only by virtue of the fact that they think you are a very good MP who advocates for them, but also by virtue of the fact that they probably disagree with a lot of the things that you defend and explain and take the party's position on. So clearly, that to a certain extent went against him. Of course, the concerns about the roads in Adenta has repeatedly been one of the major issues that have come up for conversation as one of the things that need fixing. We know that MPs are supposed to be lawmakers and not necessarily development agents, but usually when they come campaigning, they come with promises to deal with a lot of the development issues. So the concerns of residents in Adenta about the poor nature of the roads. And the interesting bit is that about 2 months, 6 weeks to 2 months to the election, work began on a lot of the roads in the Adentan area. My sister's home in the Adentan Snit flat, for example, there's a stretch that leads there. I passed by there just a few days ago and I saw that it had been tarred. And I was asking, whoever may have done this, obviously, Mr. Yabuabia Samoa had claimed credit for it on a number of occasions that he was working on getting the Adentan road fixed. But then the question is, why do you have to wait until 2 months or 3 months to the election? Obviously, in a constituency where the people are enlightened, then they would probably get you to pay the price for that. Those are obviously some of the things. But the interesting bit is this. In 2016, when Mr. Abwabia Samoa won the Adenta seat, he won by a little over 1,000 votes. A little over 1,000 votes was actually what he won by. This time around, when Mr. Ramadan won by 13,000 votes as far as this latest contest is concerned. He's opened up the gap in such a way that no one can imagine a possible reversal, except that, of course, the people of Adentan are people that they are changing whoever their MP is every 4 years. You wait to see how Mr. Ramadan will perform in his term as MP. You know, this is not the first time that he has tried it. In 2016, it was a race between the two of them. Then he had to battle against Nano Yelitha for the NDC candidature, which he eventually won, and now he is MP. It was very interesting. After the polls closed and the results were announced, almost 20 hours after the voting was done, Mr. Ramadan actually cried when eventually he was announced the winner, because he felt that this is something that he had worked for all this while, and finally his dreams actually come to pass. And we wait to see how he works in Parliament, because now as well, by virtue of the very close nature of the margins in Parliament, the quality of people various parties are bringing on as MPs, especially when a lot of the faces will be new, is also something that we should be paying attention to. The NPP, for example, is bringing in a bunch of candidates, majority of whom, although they are new in Parliament, have had experiences working in various government agencies as chief executive officers with NYEP, a number of government agencies. So they have that experience, a lot of which is not exactly the case with some of those, a lot of those who are within the folds of the NDC. But we wait to see. And obviously, the first major assignment of electing the next Speaker of Parliament, which is likely to happen on the 7th of January, the dawn of 7th of January, will be the major test, and we wait to see how that will pan out.
As you be mentioning there, we want to put Yabamia Samuel's defeat in numerical contest.
Yeah, but I need to do a correction.
Yes, please do. Go on. Are you willing to eat the humble pie?
No, but I did not project for anybody.
You didn't?
Yeah, I didn't.
But you said Ramadan was so...
No. You see, I did not. And
but Joseph, were you part of the battleground?
He wasn't.
It wasn't. Okay.
That was Akable. You and I were there. Mm-hmm. We did not predict who was going to win. Mm-hmm. In fact, when I predicted that, Paulo Furiasante was going to win Fomena, I conceded that I said he was going to win, and he did not win. But I never said that, Yabo Amiansama was going to win, and he lost. What I told you, which I still stand by, was the fact that my sources within the NDC were not sure about, Mohammed Ramadan's campaign. And they felt that they were going to do the campaign for him. So, I can reasonably...
So are you saying that they won the election for him?
Oh, but one person cannot win an election.
He's listening to you.
Success has a lot of friends. Failure has no friends.
But we'll go to the EC headquarters very shortly. But quickly, I want to put that numerical contest in to see how poorly Babia Samoa did this year. The margin, this is 2016, by the way. This is 2016. The margin was what? The margin of victory.
1,400 and something votes. 1,400 something votes.
So once
do the calculation here.
Okay.
Just so
let's say 1,000 plus.
1,400.
1,400, right? Yeah. So, sorry. 1,400.
Yeah.
1,400.
400, yeah.
Okay. 400.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the margin of victory.
It will be 1,484.
84. I mean, don't worry. I mean, I want to have Winston with me. I'm fine.
But let's just make it 1,400. Let's just continue.
1,400.
Yes, let's continue.
Okay, don't worry. Let's bring it back. Yeah. Okay, so this is the margin of victory in 2016.
Yes.
And then tonight, last 2 nights. I mean, on December 7th.
Yeah.
Somehow, the man who lost slowly, I mean, with that small margin of 1,000 plus votes, beats Babia Samoa. Not this. With 13,181 votes.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, in other words, if you take this out of this, he has just brought in 12,000 plus votes.
Yeah.
I want to go to EC. Let us sink in. I'll go to EC shortly. Now, let's go to Israel Laye. Has been monitoring the events at the EC strong room. Goodness me, that's where all the action is.
Exactly.
Israel Laye joins us live now. Good to see you, Easy. I haven't seen you today. Nice to have you in short. Oh, Joseph, don't go yet. Joseph, don't stay with me, Joseph. We are not done with you yet. Israel Laye also is one of those people who raised all his children in Adenta constituency, lives still in Adenta constituency, joins us live now, not from Adenta, but from the EC's headquarters. Israel, I know you are dying to talk about Adenta, but don't. Give me a sense of what is happening at the EC headquarters in the strong room.
All right. So we've been waiting for this for a while, and it looks like we're going to be getting the declaration anytime soon. So we're standing by as it is now. We're just standing by to hear what the Electoral Commission is going to be telling us. So we're just on standby as it is. But even before then, I've been picking up some information which I just want to share with you. I'm not going to give out so much, but you know, the one thing that we've all been standing by and waiting to hear has to do with the parliamentary results and who won what. Because, of course, as far as the presidential race is concerned, multimedia has called it. And so it's the parliamentary. That's in limbo. Now, what I'm learning is that it may end up, we have the 2 seats that are outstanding, and which I anticipate that the Electoral Commission is likely to talk about. So that's Upper Dentra West and then Senate West outstanding. So these 2 outstanding. But as they stand now, from what I'm getting, we have the NPP picking up 137, and then we have the NDC having 135. And then in addition to that, we also have one independent candidate who we all know is leaning more towards the NPP. So if he goes towards the NPP, then the NPP is getting 138 with the 2 outstanding constituencies. So that's what we have, or that's what I've picked up right now, and I'm prepared to share with you. As far as the presidential is concerned, I would say we did a pretty good job in our projections. And let me just say, I'll leave it at that and wait for the big announcement.
Don't go yet, because you have brought all the clarity. We've been doing this parliamentary analysis for a while, and we were at, what we do at election contests is to get you close to understand the picture, but still being accurate. So we're waiting for the EC to fill us in with the 6. Remember, EC has now narrowed it down to 2 outstanding. 2 outstanding. And as of the 2 outstanding, EC, just to clarify again, for those who are listening to us and may have heard both parties say what they have been saying and claiming seats, this is EC certified parliamentary numbers you are sharing with us, correct?
This is something I'm picking up. Until the EC has announced it, yeah, it stays as me using my deep throat sources to get some information.
And it matters that you are talking to us from the EC headquarters. So this is not something that this is deep throat sources. And you say, Easy, that MPP currently has 137 seats in Parliament, as confirmed, correct? By your sources?
Yes.
Okay. And the NDC has 135 seats in Parliament, as confirmed by your sources at the EC.
Exactly.
With one independent who we've analyzed and said he definitely might lean. He himself said a short while ago in that interview that he would lean MPP, right? Okay, so there are 2 outstanding. Now, what we need to do, Winston, is to say to ourselves, those outstanding areas, we don't know. It's in contest, right? Yes, it's in contest. I was going to say what has been the trend over the years,
but
this year...
I can tell you the 2 outstanding, as I indicated earlier, Upper Dentra West and Senate West.
And Senate West. Okay, thank you, Easy. But, Winston,
Now, but these 2 constituencies, now, Upper Dentra West had been one of the seats that the NPP consistently had been winning, okay? But the NDC says, we've flipped it. Senate West is an NDC seat. So, that's the dynamics. But, for purpose of analysis, you could say, give it to NDC.
Okay.
And you would have 137, 137. So the situation we're anticipating,
this is delicious,
can actually pan out.
We said it.
Very delicious.
We said it, that if those 6 can easily go to both ways, share equally. Yeah. So those 2 seats are still in contest, right?
Yeah.
And that will bring this down to...
Yeah, but if you are the NPP now, I mean, the reason why you will be happy is the fact that this man here leans towards you.
So that will give you 138, 137.
And 137. You've won majority in Parliament. You have a chance to elect a speaker, first deputy speaker, and you can say, look, this is it. We can pass all the laws, pass all the agreements, but to be on a safer side, you always must ensure that all your members are in Parliament.
No, but here's the thing. I never thought I would live to see a day like this. I'm honestly. Did you?
Well, I never would have imagined this. That in the Third Republic, there's this situation of the Third Republic where you had a parliament that had a lot more, members of the opposition than the president's party.
I was too young to know.
No, I mean, I wasn't born. I wasn't born in 19.
I'm talking about living through it.
Yes, to have seen it.
I never thought I would live to see something like this play up in Parliament.
No.
Where, and in fact, as it stands right now, if NDC wins the 2, it comes down to one person. You just have, I mean, even if NPP wins all the 2,
very close.
Yeah, how much work can Nanado do as president? Because everything else goes to Parliament.
Yeah, he still can do the work he's been doing so far. But this is a challenge, Now, ever since I was born in this Fourth Republic, I haven't seen any party with 2/3 majority.
Yeah.
The 2/3 majority can do a lot of things. But we haven't seen a party with 2/3 majority. We've seen parties with, huge majority. The APP was close to 2/3 majority in the last general election. They did not get it. And so, since a lot of the things you need, passing of agreements, loan agreements, approval of budgets, you need just a simple majority.
Yeah.
They can do it. But this is the problem. I've been a parliamentary correspondent before. And there are instances where the speaker had to adjourn Parliament, suspend sitting for a while, just to get members of the government in the House.
True.
And I've seen times when the minority said, let's put it to a vote. Because they do know at that point in time that, look, if we're to vote now with our numbers, we would carry it. And so if you have just one being the deciding, vote.
One member of Parliament.
One member of Parliament. What it means is that if there's a foreign trip, and members of Parliament do travel a lot. If there's a foreign trip, and the majority members are, say, 5, if the minority 3, it means the majority is short by 1. The minority can just say, okay, let's put it to a vote, and they will do that. But in many of these instances also, what I've come to realize is that because the minority knows they have the minority seats, they normally would engage and reach a consensus. Where there's no consensus is where you have it put to a vote. And so they would find a way around it.
So what you're suggesting is that this will force the NDC, even that they merge with that one parliamentary seat majority, to talk more.
Exactly.
Dialogue more and achieve consensus, because one person can be ill on their day. One person will have to see their child to school or may have traveled. And if NDC brings all their people to the House, they can shoot down the budget, right?
Yeah.
They can shoot down the budget.
Exactly.
They can shoot down your entire big policy loans that you get, reject it. They can reject the president's nominee for ministers.
Exactly.
I mean, like there's a whole host of things
that they can do. Let me even complicate the issue here. The Guan constituency, the Guan district.
Okay.
Those in the Guan district were asked to vote in the presidential, but not the parliamentary.
Okay.
Because all things being equal, they're going to have another constituency from that particular area. Because it's a new district now, and you can't have, 2 districts with one constituency. What it means is that you have to create one constituency automatically for them. And so, in the next year, we would have another constituency. And this constituency would consist of Lolobi, Akpafu, Santro Kofi, Likpe. And these areas all things being equal, are strongholds of the NDC. Like the people will say, Ghana bad day.
Bad they're off.
Ghana bad day.
What you're actually saying that we'll have a situation where in the next year, in 2021,
yes,
getting close, we'll have a 138-138.
Yes, we could have a tie, 138-138.
Oh goodness.
And that would mean
Ghana bed they're off.
You can't do anything.
Oh goodness me. Oh. Now, Joseph, are you still there with me? I'm sure you are. Joseph, unmute yourself or get him so we can hear you. Can you hear me, Joseph? I can hear you. Let's fix Joseph's microphone so Joseph can hear because the picture has changed slightly. And Joseph, yes?
Evans, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Also with the dynamic that Wing Sing has just introduced, the possibility of one more constituency. So we're going to have 276 constituencies.
Exactly.
Possibly next year.
That's an even number. So what that means is that there's a possibility of a tie.
Joseph.
That would be a very interesting scenario because I get the sense in coming to a decision on the number of constituencies that we should have, that conscious effort should be made to avoid a situation where it's an even number so that then there is no tie at any point in time. I recall that before we got to 275, there used to be 200 constituencies, which could have allowed for a situation of a tie, but that obviously never emerged. Obviously, it will be a very interesting development having an even number of both the NDC and the NPP. One of the things I think this may help fix is the repeated concern about absenteeism in Parliament. That there are days that we show up in Parliament and there are what? Out of the 275, there are 30 MPs, there are 40 MPs, there are 100 MPs. In fact, there are days that when decisions are being taken on key controversial issues, key national topical issues, we don't have all the MPs show up on the floor to come help with the conversation because then everyone assumes that because they have a comfortable majority, some can show up, some can decide not to show up. I think this situation with how close both the majority and the minority positions are looking like, and the possibility of a tie going into the year 2021 will ensure that MPs, both sides of the House, actually whip their members to show up most of the time. The job of the whips will become even more important right now as we speak. So, and I foresee a situation where all of that will play into the dynamics as far as those who lead both sides of the House are concerned. So now you need to look at a lot of things. We can foresee a situation where not much may change in terms of those leading both the majority and the minority side. But for example, we know that the NPP would have to get a new first deputy whip because Matthew Nyundam is actually not returning to the House. There's been the talk that it's likely their second deputy whip as well, the MP for Trobu, may not also return to the House. So at least at that level, they may have to make 2 more changes to the leadership. But then you need to get in leaders who will be able to get the MPs out as far as the whips are concerned, as and when they are needed. But for me, it's exciting that we will not only be fixing the problem with the hugely political nature of how work is done in Parliament, where at any point in time, then it's either you are for or against as far as a very close Parliament is concerned, but we may also help deal with the problem of absenteeism eventually when we have such a close Parliament panning out going into the 8th Parliament. We wait to see how things will unfold eventually. And I'm sure by now, both sides have started planning and asking themselves questions on what should change and what shouldn't change. So, for example, even before this election, there was a lot of talk, not confirmed though, that after serving all this while as Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, the majority leader, Osei Mensah Bonsu, may be moved into a key possible cabinet position just as a way to reward him for all the work that he has done away from Parliament and so that he could possibly relax and have others come take the mantle. But then with everything that's happening, then each side would actually have need for a very strong person in terms of leadership going into the 8th Parliament. And of course, if the NDC doesn't get to form the next government at the executive level, we can expect that they will leave Haruna Idrisu and the others in charge at the level of the minority. Same may happen with the at the level of the minority. Same may happen with the majority, except that the changes have to be done because some of the leadership at that level have actually lost.
Stay with me. Let me update our audiences across the world. Listen to us on Joy 99.7 FM, watching us on JoyNews, following us on Twitter, #ElectionHQ, watching us on Facebook, Joy 99.7, JoyNews, watching us on our YouTube channel, JoyNews, watching us on myjoyonline.com. As we stand currently in Parliament with our sources at the Electoral Commission confirming we had worked out 122. Our sources in Parliament, our sources in the election headquarters have come through for us through Israel Lai, who is there for us and had confirmed these numbers. You're waiting for the EC to make it public shortly, but these are the numbers that we have in Parliament right now. Right now, as it stands, MPP has 133 seats in the House. NDC has 135 seats in the House. There's one independent who we expect will lean MPP. There are two outstanding, two outstanding to go, which is that here. I want to repeat that for you again. As it stands right now, from our sources confirming in the Electoral Commission headquarters, MPP has 137 seats in Parliament. NDC has 135 seats in Parliament. There's one independent who we expect to lean MPP. There are two outstanding constituencies still a subject of some contest that we expect to come in shortly. Now, we're saying if we give all these two outstanding to NDC, that brings the number down to a tie in Parliament for the first time in our history at 137 seats for both NDC and MPP. This independent, as we've been analyzing, then becomes the decider of who becomes the outright simple majority holder in the House. It could also be that they share this two, right? 1-1, which means MPP will have 1-3. These are the various permutations, exactly. Right? I mean,
138, and then NDC has 136. It could also be that the NPP wins both, so they have 139, and NDC has 135. If they're to add this, it becomes 140, or the NDC may have the independent candidate joining them. Independent candidates normally join the ruling party. They normally join the party with executive power, and that's what has been the trend in Parliament. It was only Samia Nkrumah who joined the NPP, so she was part of the minority, and also Victor Beho who joined the NDC. He was also coming from the NDC stock in after the 2000 general elections.
Listen, after all this mind-bending statistics, numbers, etc., and something beginning to unfold historically in Parliament, we want to leave you just for a few minutes so it sinks in. You digest it a bit more. Just look at our smart wall and it tells you the story. This is the story of 2020 Parliament. Let it sink in, digest it a bit. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Let me tell you what makes my cooking fire. Festiva has all you need to make every meal special.
Breakfast, papepi, lunch, papepi, dinner, papepi, Festiva, my delicious breakfast, papepi.
Choose from our wide range of Festiva products and make every meal tastier.
Festiva, food items you can trust.
And if you have a foodie family like mine, Festiva is your best bet.
Festiva, adding flavor to your life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
And then we are saying, it's not say you're also and kids one year. And I'm so me able to for say, Apomodima papa, anything.
Apomodini say, Ober boy Juma Aquaba unti brebia.
On the Mosro. So be sipi, sita. Anna. So be a bo heavy.
Debia.
Oyiwa, Obia Pahoding, Obia Penkwa, Edronini. Hepa Plus mixture. We na onoma, and come one in your Modia Quetia and what beer, a bebo nipedu. Hepa Plus mixture, Emma Pomodim Mapa.
Hepa Plus mixture, a woman nipedu jina yepa. Hepa Plus mixture, and your man could not wound if you do me. A pin for Anna Batai. FD Ashisha Saga de Kratum. I jatum say, yeah.
Hepa Plus mixture, Emma Pomodim Mapa.
This is your election headquarters on Joy 99.7 FM here on the JoyNews channel. I want to take you live now to the NDC offices where there is a news conference being addressed by the party's Deputy General Secretary, Peter Boamo Tokuno.
And his government, realizing that they have lost the parliamentary seats and they appear in the minority, have deployed some tactics. Yesterday we mentioned a few here. They are using brute force. They are using the military. They are using the police to coerce and intimidate the returning officers to change the results in their favor. They have done so in a number of constituencies from last night till this morning, some of which have seen very fierce resistance from the people. In Techiman South, yesterday, the resistance of the vigilant citizens of Techiman South resulted in what can be described as a fatal, indiscriminate shooting by military officers into the crowd, leading to the injury of about 7 people. Here you can see a police officer trying to take the evidence away. The pellets of the gunshots, you saw the police officer, he was picking them so that we will not see the pellets. The lifeless body of an innocent citizen who is just demanding that the right thing to be done. This is Mother Ghana under President Akufo-Addo. 2020. This never happened in the cold days. You will not see this in Afghanistan. Very bizarre. You can hear the gunshots. Make no mistake, this is not Sudan. This is Ghana. Okay, so you can get the videos. I'm sure the media men, if you want these videos. Just this afternoon, in the quiet of the sun, the returning officer together with some NPP team and a heavily armed military and police men move into an unknown location, called some media houses, and they have declared the results on the blind side of our parliamentary candidate and our agents. Is this democracy? Last night we heard Madam Jimensa say on air that you cannot declare any credible results without the involvement and the assent of all the political parties involved. Is that not the case? You heard it? This afternoon, they have declared the results for Techiman South, and they've declared the NPP candidate the winner, when clearly the tabulation that we have indicates that we are winning that particular seat by over 2,000 votes. This is something that is happening in Techiman South. And as if that is not enough, just this afternoon, some police and military men tried to evade the house of our parliamentary candidate, and they shot his houseboy. He is in critical condition as we speak. Are we at war? Are we in Afghanistan? Are we in Sudan? Even Mobutu Sese Seko and Idi Amin will not visit this level of wickedness on its citizens. We are pursuing this matter. That resource is invalid. We will not accept that resource. It doesn't exist in our records. The NDC won the parliamentary seat for Techiman South. Now, in the Upper Denchira West constituency, a similar action is being taken. We have won all the results clearly. I mean, if you have it, you can kindly show Upper Denchira West. You can show the results. We have won. The returning officer has done the collation. We have seen the figures. They have filled the declaration sheets. The NPP have refused to sign. They sent the Minister of Transport, Esiama, is he the Transport Minister? He went there and physically prevented, with the support of military men and armed policemen, prevented the returning officer from declaring the Upper Denchira West constituency results. As we speak, the returning officer have since forwarded the records and whatever he has done to the region and the national. They are still indicating that it is incomplete because the NPP have not accepted. We want to send this very important note of caution. If you have been able to declare Techiman South without the NDC, if you have been able to declare Bunu East region, the summary results, we have seen that they have declared the Bunu East region without our signature, then nothing is stopping them from immediately publicly declaring that of Upper Denchira West. Look at the results. Look at the results. We are far ahead of them. This outstanding 6 constituent polling stations were the bone of contention. And this is the results that we got. We had 1,139. They had 889. Before these 6 polling stations, they had tabulated the earlier polling stations, and we were leading by 16,159. And they were trailing by some 15,662. So if you add even this 1,000, which they are not winning, it is a clear, supermassive, resounding victory for the NDC in the Upper Denchira West constituency. Madam Jean Mensah must take this very important note of caution. We are not going to allow them to subvert the will of the people in Upper Denchira West. The people of Upper Denchira West have spoken. They have voted for the NDC, and that keeps us in the majority. No amount of intimidation. No amount of intimidation, I repeat. No amount of gunshots. No amount of killing will change the will of the people in this constituency and in Ghana. On that note, in wrapping up, I would want to encourage all our supporters to remain resolute. We should remain in the spirit. We should remain very vigilant. We should follow the process. Let us not...
And you're still live here on your election headquarters. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM, live on the JoyNews channel here on of course, your favorite box that I'm pretty sure you are enjoying. Of course, free to air. Also, we are live on DSTV. We are also live on Facebook. We are live on myjoyonline.com. We are live on Twitter as well. Hashtag is hashtag election HQ. On our screens currently is our drone shot over the skies there at the Electoral Commission headquarters. Powerful visuals of the wall of armed police and military dividing the road there between the crowd of NDC supporters and the Electoral Commission building itself. This is in the Ridge area, very close to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, the former Ridge Hospital. And you can see there as the drone pans and turns, the sheer number of NDC supporters who are gathered there waiting for the EC to declare the results for the elections. This will be the presidential election results declaration. And this is, Winston, a whole host of people who've turned out today.
Exactly, because they're being asked to turn out, they're being asked to show up at the offices of the Electoral Commission, and we have stated you could go there, just make sure you comport yourself. And we're also urging the security agencies, to jaw with them, not attack them. But of course, they shouldn't start any attack themselves. Having said that also, I would have wished that we didn't have to, go through this situation with people massing up at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission. But this is politics, and we have the leaders urging them on. But I just also would want to say that if the Electoral Commission is done with a coalition, maybe a declaration would put everything to rest.
Yeah, I mean, that in that sense is a final game plan that would put all this to rest. But what I see, I want to describe for you, if you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM, what I see is this crowd of supporters, but they separated from the EC headquarters by two long lines of armed police and military. There's a first line of armed police and military that with closer gaps between them all across the street. And if you know the area I'm talking about, if you're coming from the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, when you get to the traffic light, before you hit the street that goes in front of the Ridge Hospital, that entire stretch from that traffic light, I think that's where you have the SU building.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the
that entire stretch. And there's I think a Shell filling station there also.
Yeah.
That entire stretch from that particular traffic light, stretching all the way as I can see to way past the Ridge Hospital, has been lined by well-armed police and military men, two lines. Now, if you picture that street, there is a street that comes from Ridge towards the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, and then there's a road that comes from the Accra Psychiatric Hospital towards the Ridge Hospital. So, and it's divided by a median. Now, what we have is the first line of police officers are stationed on the first road, the one from the Accra Psychiatric Hospital all the way to the Ridge Hospital. And then the second line is on that stretch again, that line from the Ridge Hospital back to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. That entire stretch is blocked off. And so if you are driving in town, don't use it because you won't be allowed. That entire area is now a security zone with teaming armed police and military there with armored vehicles parked all over. And then you also have the complication of the masses there, the crowd, as we see there. And they've come with their cars, with loudspeakers. I've seen some of their leaders addressing them at this particular place also. I wanted to listen in a bit to the sights and sounds, if we have any, from this particular place, because this is obviously where the action is at. By the way, this is what is playing out outside. Inside is the EC strong room where we have Israel Lai and Parker Wilson all standing by. When it happens, you get to hear first on your election headquarters because we have our men in the room. And plus, we have our drone shots outside giving you a bird's eye view of what's going to happen and what's happening currently at the EC headquarters. Definitely a key thing to watch as this all unfolds. This has happened before. I've seen it. In fact, in 2008, I was covering the Electoral Commission then myself, and I was the same area. where the NDC members again masked up. So I've seen this play out before. Beauty of the last election, the one I covered, those the 2008 elections, was that in the end, when the results were called, they went back home. And nothing happened, no chaos.
Yeah, because they won.
Violence, because they won,
they won.
Because they won. I mean, but here again, I guess for me, the factor that gives me confidence that we're not going to cross this edge, we're not going to fall off the cliff, is that if you listen to the NDC themselves, when it comes to the presidential, I haven't had anyone yet. In fact, well, let me use the man himself. John Dramani Mahama, when he spoke overnight, didn't once say that he's won it, right? He talks quite categorically about the parliamentary elections, right? When it comes to the presidential, he wasn't categorical about it, right? And we've called it for Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, so that's settled. But in the case of the parliamentaries, where I guess the issues have revolved around, and so my question really is, so for those who have masked up there, because the EC's declaration is not about parliamentary.
Well, but you see, Evans, that's the issue. And when I stepped out, I was listening to the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, that's Peter Otokono, and he was making a reference to how they believe that certain figures may have changed, and is saying, urging people on. You also heard from the minority leader saying they want to go there, and so what I gather in all of this is that following the working majority in Parliament that John Mahama talked about, the expectation was that this would travel into a second round. And once you have a working majority in Parliament, if the election goes into a second round, it is expected that you get to win, the general election or the runoff. And so that not happening and having projected that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is going to win, for the NDC, it looks like some elements within the party, and I'm saying this because I agree with you, Evans. If you listen to John Dramani Mahama himself, he makes a reference to the working majority in Parliament. A lot is not said about the presidential elections, but if you speak to members of the NDC, those who are very close to the corridors of power, their expectation was that this was going to go into a second round. And that's where they feel that some result tampering may have happened, and that's something untoward may have occurred, resulting in the NPP's victory. You've heard of the, talks about some certified results changing overnight and all of that. But whatever the situation is, I know many people would not want to hear this, but look, if you're unhappy with the process, there are, channels that you follow. You can protest to the Electoral Commission. If they fail to listen, you know what to do. You resort to the courts for the courts to settle it. But I do not think that the Electoral Commission would not heed to, the process that they have put in place to ensure that anyone who is aggrieved would go through those same channels. Yeah. Because at the end of it, what all of us would want to see is a situation where Ghana wins and not just a political party winning.
Yeah, I'm impressed. One of the things that impresses me, we need to salute our gallant men and women in uniform, the soldiers and the police officers. They've been there. We've been standing on our feet for a long time.
6 hours, and it's not been easy.
Yes.